Hi everybody, welcome back. Now that I have made all the ribs and spars, I've gone and glued them all together. This was a fairly painless process. There was many more spars than I had previously on the Millie Bob, but once everything was aligned, it all went together pretty fast. I used standard wood glue, a PVA glue, and let it set overnight. The alignment is very, very good. I'm very, very happy with the overall result of it. The only problem I have is with one of my ribs, which seems to have gone, and as you can see from this, it's gone a little to the right at the tip. So if I bring the ruler up against it here, you can see that it is curving off to the right. I don't think this is too big of a problem. Ultimately, this area is going to be sheeted. I'm just a bit disappointed that has happened. It may have happened as part of the laminating process when I put on the support plies either side of the rib, or it may have happened as it was curing off overnight. But either way, I don't think it's going to be a particularly big problem. The next stage is to put a sub leading edge in, which is 1/16" sheet. You can just see it there, so those two lines, and that runs all along the front of the leading edge. After that, there's two support blocks that go in here. The mounting screws for the wings go through those. The area here then gets sheeted, as does then the leading edge, the center section, and then finally all of the trailing edge gets sheeted. So I'll cover those in the next few steps. So I've been looking at the wing mount trailing edge fillers that are made out of balsa. There's one here and one here. Now each of those needs to actually be of a shape that it conforms to the tail end of the aileron section. So each of them will essentially be a wedge shape like that. Now I don't have a block of balsa that's that high, so what I'm going to do is actually create this using differing blocks of balsa in different sheet strips, and then once it's all done, I'll plane it back to create that shape, and then it should sit nicely between the ribs. So in order to do that, as you can see, I've created two of these already, made up of 1/8 inch and 3/8 inch strip balsa, and I've put in a piece of 1/16 inch as well. So that will essentially mean that I will be able to shape that down into a nice triangular wedge and then insert it in between the ribs. So I've completed the undercarriage mounting blocks, finished shaping them using a balsa plane and the sandpaper block, and I have glued them into position here towards the trailing edges. I've also included and glued in the shear webbing, which runs behind the main spars. My next job is to begin the sheeting of the wing, which runs essentially from the trailing edge of the wing all the way up to this rear auxiliary spar. So that will require a significant amount of 1/16" sheets, which need to be mounted and loaded into location, just like that. Now, important thing to note is that rather than having them come all the way to the end and flush here with the auxiliary spar, they actually need to sit approximately halfway along. Now the reason for this is because each of these wing ribs has actually got capping on it as well, and it gives an extra location for that capping to seat down and prevents it from wobbling and being moved. So for example, if it's sitting just like that and flush with the spar, it could rotate, whereas with this methodology it actually sits nice and flush against that and sits on the auxiliary spar. When I'm doing the sheeting as well, I'm also going to put in a whole load of masking tape underneath the lower spar So when the sheeting is on and located in place, and I'll use a PVA glue for this, I'll just simply reach this over, tape it down, and that will hold it into position. And I'll do that at each and every